How's it going, everybody? Welcome to my first video on this channel. Sorry if the sound might be a little bit borched because, there's a bit of a wind. But yeah, this is the first video on this channel. I might shave tomorrow if possible. And yeah, so for this video I wanted to talk about my experiences at primary school, like my primary school life, like the things that I remember. So I'll start with this, the whole Pokemon craze. When I was like a kid, there would be like this, my brother and I would be like into Pokemon when we were like kids back then in our primary school life. There is an instance where, this one time I was in primary school back then, and there was this Pokemon VHS. I believe I took this home with me, and yeah, and also I saw this Pokemon Mystery Dungeon cartoon on Toasted TV here. It was on Network 10 back then. Like when they showed it, it was like very interesting. I happened to have rewatched it later in the years, and like more recently. As well as this, when I was in the library, I once, like a few times as a kid, I read the Bible, but it wouldn't make sense for me to read this as a Muslim. But to be honest, I have actually read the Bible like a few times. And then, as well as that, in the library I read not just the Australian Geographic, but also the National Geographic magazine as well. Like the old issues of National Geographic, not the new issues, of course, but like issues that are from the 20th century. And as well as this, at school, like I noticed there'll be like this Christian organization that, well, supposedly it might have been Christian, I'm not really sure, but they did come to my primary school. And I went to a government school. It was actually a public government school as well. This primary school that I went to, I'm not gonna name it. Just gonna say that my brother and my sister have been there, my cousins have been there. I still have like a few friends, well, some friends that I'm still friends with on Facebook, and possibly have tried sending plenty of friend requests to, not plenty, but some friend requests to. Some of them accepted the friend request, some of them didn't. But also, there were times when, of course, like, I would explore things either early or late. Or, like, for instance, we used to live, this house where I live it's more recent. Like, it was built around 2017, I believe. So about 6 years ago. And, in the first house that I lived in, my first childhood house, was built in the late 60s. established in that year, I believe. And then of course the second house, I believe, was recent for its time, like built during the 2000s, I believe, or 1990s. I'm not really sure, but definitely the 2000s. The actual first house that I lived in was the granny flat next to this 1960s house. And it actually is a granny flat because it's connected with that house. Not completely connected, like, but you know, it shares like the roof, I believe. I'm not really sure. But next to it was a shed where we used to work. When I started working with my family, it was in that shed, which that granny flat was connected to. Anyway, so the third house that I lived in was where my cousin's house would be, opposite side of, like, on the opposite end of the street. Like, what am I doing? On the other end of the street. Not other end. Why did I say that? On the other side of the street. As well as this. This is quite literally the fourth house so far. This would have been the actual fifth house. Anyway, so this, as well as this, back to my primary school, you have a lot of, like, with instances where I think people can relate to this, where other kids would be freaking throwing things around and trashing things, and as well as this, there'd be like little kids trying to be tough in my school, especially towards me, which is really, really odd. And it's surprising because one time a teacher of ours did state, well, our home teacher, I believe, he said that if little kids saw what the big kids were doing, and it was like these bad things that the big kids would have been doing, they're gonna think it's okay. And clearly, I brought this back up when they were talking about, you know, the situation with that fox. A fox was roaming around at our primary school area one time during that damn it, I believe my 6 and 7 years, around those 2 years when I was in that classroom. And basically, ever since primary school, I used to have like a few National Geographic books. No idea where they are now, but yeah, I'm heaps into that. I mainly read them I mainly get into those magazines for the advertisements in them. Classic, nostalgic, vintage advertising. Alright, I think for the first video this does it, and I'll probably make the second video on this channel tomorrow. For now, this will have to do. Hopefully I could get this trimmed off, and I hope to see you tomorrow in the next video. Take care. Stay awesome.